Hello, it's Melinda from Scrapbookingncraft and welcome to the last day of the Great Australian Craft Show number 7. Wow, I've survived 7 days. It's a long 7 days, I can tell you that. So today we are doing a more semi-traditional scrapbook page with a bit of mixed media thrown in. So we're going to make a few elements first and then we're going to work on the page. So you've just seen a photo of the actual finished page. So let's get started. So I need a piece of napkin turned into a piece of pattern paper to back one of my Christmas trees. So I'm going to use this napkin and I'm just going to demonstrate with this napkin because I couldn't find another one of these that I haven't ripped the back off. So basically my daughter is nearly turning 13 and as part of her schooling she is selling napkins on my website to learn about business. My daughter's homeschooled, so we thought why not give her some practical experience. So when you purchase the napkins, whether it's from our store or a different store, they come with the top layer and then 1 or 2 layers of white on the back. Best way to get them apart, it's rough for about the first inch or textured, then it's smooth. What I do is come to the smooth bit, sort of do this with my fingers. One finger goes up, one finger goes down, and you can sort of gently separate the layers. My hands are all sticky tonight. So I'm just going to come in here and see if I can separate the layers. Just got to be a little gentle. I can sort of, there we go. Once you get it, it starts to move fairly easily. So then you just grab each of the layers and just separate. So one usually comes off very easily. And we're going to test to see if we have another one on. So I keep those white napkins and do something with them one day. I will stamp on them and I'll use them as collage. Now, this napkin may have a second layer on it. So I'm just again gently, and if you feel your fingers shift, I can feel that's got a second layer on it. If you're sort of doing this with your fingers and you can't feel another layer, it means there's not a second layer. And because this hasn't gone translucent yet, you can sort of see it's still quite opaque. That means there's a layer still on there. So if they have 3 layers, the second layer is a little bit more tricky to get off. So we're just going to pull it off. Sometimes this one has light printing on it because it is obviously attached when it's printing. It has very, very faint printing on it. So now we have a translucent layer and you should be able to see through it. See, I can see through to the next napkin just here. Or you can test it over a piece of patterned like text paper to see if you can read. You should be able to read the text through it. If you can't read the text through it and you put it on a piece of book text, then you need to remove more napkins. So that one was only showing you how to remove the napkins because I couldn't find another one of this one that we're using. Doesn't matter what pattern, works all the same. So now I'm wanting to find my scissors. I've cleaned up my desk. It'll teach me to clean up my desk. I can't find a thing. Sorry about that. So when you open up a napkin, you have 4 panels. So we only want 1 or 1/4 of the napkin today. So the easiest way I find to cut it is leave it in folded. Find where the fold is. Guide your scissors in and just cut. I find doing this method it's easier to do it with 1 single square of napkin because I'm only using a small piece. If I was using a bigger piece I'd do a bigger piece, but for argument's sake let's do a small piece because we only need a small piece. Now we're going to use an iron and some cling wrap or glad wrap to do this technique. I'm just trying to move my phone off my desk. So the pink towel is my ironing board. I don't have an ironing board. The black is a barbecue heat-proof mat. I've got 2 layers. Excuse me, I've just finished having dinner and it's not sitting right. So this is 2 layers of Glad Bake. This is what you put your chips on or your biscuits on to bake them. So we want 1 layer down. I'm going to do the shorter layer down. Then we want our piece of paper we want to glue our napkin onto. I'm gluing onto white paper, but I could put on book text. I could put on music sheet. You can basically put it onto anything. I want it to be bright white, so I'm going to do it on just 160 GSM paper. I'm going to grab some lovely cling wrap. This is just the cheap roll from Woolies. We're going to put some down on our paper. Going to put our napkin down face side up. We are building a sandwich. Last layer of our sandwich is the Glad Bake. This is just excess. So I'm just going to try and see if I can cut. Glad wrap is fun to cut. There we go. So let me just get that. This can be a bit fiddly. Just want to make sure you've got Glad wrap to all under your napkin. We're just going to move that over a bit. There we go. I cut my paper just the size of my napkin, which usually I'd cut it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to put our Glad Bake on top. Make sure there is no Glad wrap outside your top layer of Glad Bake. So if, for example, I did this, this would melt onto my iron. And it's flying around everywhere tonight. So I want to grab a iron. Just got it on the linen setting. Don't want steam or water. Just going to plop it on. Wait about 30 seconds and slowly move it. The Glad wrap is going to melt and act like an adhesive. So it's a really cool way to attach your napkins. So I'll usually do a bunch of these at a time. And then you've got pretty pattern paper. So this turns your napkin basically into pretty pattern paper. So whatever you use pattern paper for, you can use your napkin for once it's on the piece of paper. So I'm just going to take my iron off and check. Just watch, it's very hot. So you don't want to burn yourself. Just want to give it a few seconds. Just want to give a bit of a flick to the corners to see if the corners come up. That's a bit hot still. This, see how this is coming up? Need a bit more heat down there. So if you can't flick the corners up, and you can't flick the napkin off the bit of paper, it is ironed down. Oops. So as you can see down here, this Glad wrap is all melted onto the piece of paper. So I'm just going to give it a quick flick. Oh, it's hot. And it is all stuck down. I'm just going to pause the video for you. I'll be right back. Pause the video, clean up my ironing spot, go grab my next lot of supplies. As I said, we're going to make a fair few elements to our page, and then we're going to start building our page. So just a moment. Okay, so now we're on to making our elements. So these are two of the chipboard pieces that I make and manufacture that we're going to use in our layout. And they are heat embossed with gold metallic heat embossing powder. So I'll show you how to do that. And we've also got our title, Santa photos. And we're going to do something funky with this hat with the heat embossing powder as well. So when you purchase chipboard embellishments, they come raw, or like raw chipboard or raw, it's actually box board. So it's cardboard basically, highly condensed cardboard. So you need to colour them in some way. So heat embossing is one way you can colour it. We're going to do, I'll show you how to do it this one. So we're going to do heat embossing powder. It's one way to colour them. Heat embossing powder is shiny. It goes on. These are opaque embossing powders, so they're not translucent. You won't see through to the chipboard. So basically you need something on the chipboard to stick the powder. Embossing powder is powder. It's crushed up plastic and then it melts and becomes this shininess. So you need something to stick the powder to the chipboard. Do apologise, my words are coming out backwards today. So I've just got a Versamark ink pad. Now this is traditionally a clear ink pad, but I have wrecked mine and mine is now black and gruddy. It still works to some extent. When you get chipboard, if you run your finger along the side, you get a little bit of black dust off. That'll disappear when you ink or heat emboss it or paint it. That's just part of the manufacturing process. Because these are laser cut, as in laser equals burnt, you get a bit of charcoal on the wood. So I've just got, so bear in mind if you do use a Versamark ink pad, you will wreck it with this black charcoal dust and then it's no longer a Versamark ink pad, it's no longer a clear ink pad. So these are $5, so I've now said, right, this is the one that I do all my chipboard with and it's just designated for that. So I'm just going to put a bit of this on top, which is a glue pad re-inker because it's not so sticky anymore. And all I want to do is get the stickiness all over. I'm just wanting to do the Santa word. I'm not wanting to go onto the hat at the moment because I want to do something special with that. So I'm just being a bit careful under the hat. I'm just got a piece of A4 paper just to catch the excess glue. Got to be fairly quick because this glue will absorb into the chipboard because it's very absorbent. So I'm just going to put that first layer away, which has got my sticky glue on it. This one's a fresh sheet of just A4 copy paper. I'm going to just tip my embossing powder all over the piece where I put the stickiness. Now we'll almost tip the whole jar on it. Heat embossing powder, I'm just reaching for my tweezers. Heat embossing powder goes a long way and you don't use much of it at all. As you can see, I've just tipped it. Just looking for my glue cap. tip the entire bottle on, but I'm going to tip probably about 95% of it back in the jar. So I'm just going to pick up my piece, give it a bit of a tap. Now, as you can see, I don't have, well, I'm just going to brush it off. I don't have any embossing powder on the hat because I didn't put any glue there. Got a tiny little bit, but I'm just going to brush the speckles off because I don't want it to stick. So we can put all of this back in our jar. This is why I do it on an A4 piece of paper. You can pick it up and just go plonk back in your jar. Looks like I need to go shopping and get some more. Been doing too many projects. So now to heat this up, we're going to grab a heat tool. So this is a heat tool, so it puts out heat but not air. You don't want to use a hairdryer because a hairdryer will push these grains off your project before you get to melt them. So we want to start melting in one side and slowly move across. It's going to be a bit hard to see. You don't want to do this. You don't want to wave your heat tool like you normally do when you're drying stuff because the crystals have to heat up to a certain temperature before they melt. So I'm just going to hold in the one spot for 30 seconds. You'll see it go shiny gold. I do like to pick up my pieces because they heat up a lot quicker. Because the heat doesn't have to penetrate the table and then come back up. You can sort of start to see, I don't know whether you can see, the S is starting to turn, so it's starting to go a shiny colour. Small, intricate pieces will turn first because there's not much powder on it. I'll just do a little bit more and stop and show you. Now you can see that the S and part of the A and part of the P is done, but the other is not. So I'll just go through and heat up the rest of it. So you should be able to see sort of the heat embossing sort of run just above where you're holding your heat tool. That is your indication to move it on. I'm just going to grab this one now back to front. Don't touch the, having tweezer issues. Don't touch the heat embossing for about 30 seconds to a minute. It is melted plastic. It will not burn your finger, but you'll certainly know it. Like it's not a real bad burn, but it's like an ouch. So don't touch it while it's hot. I actually can't see what I'm doing because it's all shadowy here tonight. I do apologise. I've got my lights on, but it's all shadowy. This heat tool is a lower heat tool, so it does take a bit longer. You can buy hotter heat tools that be a lot quicker, but they're a lot louder, so it's a bit hard to do it in a video. The stubborn bit of the S doesn't want to melt. Top of the A, top of the D. Okay, now I don't want to touch that for a little bit. Now, I don't have any embossing powder on the top of the hat. That's what I want to put glue and stuff next. So what I'm going to do is I want to do a little bit of white embossing powder, white glittery embossing powder. I'm assuming this is. This is jelly powder. I'm assuming it says means it's embossing powder. So I just want to put a little bit of this glue on my finger. And I want to put it where the pom-pom is. And I want to do sort of a line at the bottom of the hat. I could do this with a paintbrush, but hey, fingers are invented first. Now, while that is still wet, I'm going to put on my embossing powder. Now, just make, excuse me. Now, just make sure that that gold embossing powder is dry, because otherwise, oh no, my hands are sticky. Make sure that gold embossing powder is dry, because if it's hot, your new colour will stick to it. So I'm just going to tap on a little bit, tap it off, and I can just brush it off the top of where I don't want it with my finger. I can get a dry paintbrush and do the same thing. Actually, I think this is just a clear. I don't think it's a white. When I bought this, they said it was white. That's right. It'll give it some sparkle. Looks like it's just sparkling. Shouldn't be touching that with my fingers because that's going to get real hot real quick. Because you're using a bit more of the liquid glue, it will take a bit longer because it's got to dry the glue and also melt the powder. It's not the look I'm going for. Change of plan. We are going. I wonder if this red is the same thing. Okay, change of plan. We're going to do it all gold, and then I will colour it in with some alcohol markers. I can't colour in white. I'll put a bit of white paint on it. Obviously, these embossing powders that I bought are not opaque. So we're just going to go and put, just want to bring back in my messy, when I'm heat embossing, I always keep one sheet of paper for messiness and one sheet of paper for tipping my powders on, because I don't want to get glue. I don't want to tip, this is wet ink here, I don't want to tip my embossing powders on there because it's going to grab to that and I'm going to waste. If not, we might just have a gold hat. Well, that's a bit disappointing. It's when I go and order things on the internet. Whoops. I thought I was ordering opaque red and opaque white, like the gold, but obviously it's translucent. That's right. I will use it on something. Let's just make a gold hat. But you easily can, if you had the correct embossing powders, you can do two-toned effects and things. You basically just put ink or the glue on the piece you want to colour and make sure it's not on any of the other pieces you don't want to colour. And spray your embossing powder on and heat it up. Looks like we're just going to have a gold hat. That's okay. We've got a bit of a difference because the gold is more, because I put more glue on, more powder stuck, because I put it on in a big splodge, so it's grabbed more powder, so it's thicker and shinier, and this is a bit speckledy down here. Ow. Let's put my finger in hot embossing powder. Now let's get my fingerprint out of the way. But I like those two effects. So you can go on when you're heating it up, you can tip more powders on top to build up the layers and make it super shiny, but I like the distressed look. That's really cool. Okay. Now I'm just going to pause the camera and go and emboss these two pieces gold, exactly the same format. I've decided to cut out a lot of repetitive things in the videos so we can put in as much as we can and be still within our 1.5 hour time limit. Just going to pause again and come back, and these two will be embossed. Okay, so now all our pieces are heat embossed. We're going to grab our napkin that we put on our piece of paper. What we're actually going to do is shadow or back the piece of chipboard. Now if we put this on our layout, whatever colour's behind is going to show up. So I like to back some of these with some decorative paper. So to do that, I like to glue with just a strong craft glue. This is just one from Reject Shop. So just going to put glue on the fattest pieces of chipboard or the biggest area of chipboard. I don't need to get glue everywhere. Excuse me. The dinner is not sitting well. Must have had onion in it. I can always tell when something has onion in it. I feel it a while later. So just going to press that down. I find it's easier to glue it on than try and cut it out and then stick it on. Oh, what I was going to say is if you're heat embossing model pieces, put your ink on, put your powder on, heat them up piece by piece. Otherwise, your ink will dry, your powder will fly off, and you'll just have to start again. So just going to roughly cut this out. So I'll save that for something else another day. So just going to go in, use the chipboard as a guide, and just basically cut out your shape. You could do this with a craft knife. I find I have better success with scissors. You can sort of lean your scissors against a piece of chipboard as like a guide. Oh, I've just noticed that this needs heating again. I didn't do a real good job of heating this piece. I'll give it a quick heat in a minute. can still see powder. So I find being able to use, whether you use a craft knife or the scissors, you can use the chipboard, as I said, as a guide. I'm just going to get rid of that. I'll have to get a bin on my table. So I'm just going to heat this one up again, so I'll just pause for a minute. Okay, so time to put our layout together. So the papers I'm using are from this paper pad. I actually don't stock any paper pads, inks or anything like that. All I stock is the chipboard, stencils, mixed media cardstock and foam stamps I make and manufacture. So this one I actually got from Spotlight last year. So I do apologise, it's not available. I'm trying to deep dive my stash. I'm also going to use some die cuts that match that paper range as well. So I'm just going to take off now. I've got, there's my Santa photo. Lots of embellishments. So I've done some pre-cutting. I thought you don't need to cut, see me cut paper. That's a bit boring. I will go through the sizes and things. So to start with, my backing paper, which is my green piece. So I've got a sheet of white cardstock down to start with. So I'm going to mount that on there. And then this green piece of pattern paper. This is quite thin paper, so I do like to mount it. I've cut, I think, 1/4 of an inch off two sides, and that gives me a small white border all the way around. So I'm going to stick that on. I think I'm going to get rid of, this white drop paper and go with the craft. Then I can see what I'm doing. So just turning over the green piece onto the back, I'll show you a trick to be able to line things up when you're taping them down. So we want one continuous strip, and that's so important, on each side of our pattern paper or piece of photo mat or whatever we're sticking down. It's important it's one continuous, so this is just regular flat double-sided tape. If you're after any scrapbooking supplies, my friend at hillbillyscrapping.com, I'll pop the link in the chat bubble. Herself and myself and her team up and do the craft shows. Because I don't stock any of the stuff, it's hard for me to run classes and then point people to the right direction. So we decided to team up for the craft shows, and oh, hello Bunny. My daughter's Bunny has decided to bound over to me and say hello. So we team up the in-person craft shows around country Victoria and do the shows together. So I've just peeled back about 1 inch and folded it back so it's on the outside of the bit of paper. You need to do that to one end of all the 4 strips. So now I can move this around, and because not much of the paper is exposed, you have a chance to line it up. Lining up things is not my forte, but this is a really good trick to be able to line it up. So I think when I know I've got it lined up, I gently press where my tape is exposed, and that makes it grab a little bit. I'm just going to grab a rubbish bin. I just had my rubbish bin before. I had a box of paints in it from my last class, so I just need a rubbish bin because I wasn't going to get stuff all over everywhere. Sorry about that. Now, what you do is gently put your hand on top and pull this tab, and that will expose the double-sided tape. We can press it down. I didn't do a real good job of lining it up. I'm going to trim a little bit off that side. So again, just gently on the top, and you can pull the piece of double-sided tape backing out and just press it down. So I use this for card making, scrapbooking, and a lot of things. Now to work out which way I want my page to go, I think I like these ferns on the side. Maybe I like them on the top. I think I like them on the top. So now we have got room. This is my photo mat. Thought I grabbed my ruler. I brought my ruler out. I had it in my hand. So I don't have a photo to go in this layout yet, but this is enough for a 5x7 photo because it's 12.5 by 17.5. So this is my stand-in photo. So what I like to do is just play around with my placement first. So obviously the red is going to go under my photo as a photo mat. The white will be seen when I do my mat my photo. I'll cut it slightly smaller. And then I just want to have a few layers just poking out. Then I have this one that says Merry Christmas. Let's make sure we get that one up the right way. Not that you can see much of the words. I think we just have to shimmy this, shimmy this over a bit. We've got a nice die cut to go up here, and then our Santa photo word is going to sit up here. So before I stick anything down, I'm a person that likes to play with placement. So out of the patterned paper pad, we found this cut apart with Santa and the kids, and I thought that was really cute. I have a tree down there. I'm going to put a bit of pattern paper behind him just to bring a bit of white up. Yeah, this does need to go over here a bit. So this is going to sit up here. So you're sort of trying to make 3 clusters in a sort of a visual triangle. So this over here, I'm going to put a tree with my tree. And then we've got a soldier. Or do I have it the other way around? Maybe I have my soldier there. I have that tree there. And I have this tree here. No, I like it the other way around. So I want that tree to go up taller, and then I'll have my soldier just standing here. Then I've got this gorgeous little car to go over here, and this piece to go here. So what I'm also wanting to do is add a bit of depth, so we're going to add some foam tape to some of our layers. So let's work on this layer first. I'll tell you all the sizes of the paper as I stick them down. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to do this on 2 sides for the photo mat. I don't need tape all around this one because it is a smaller piece, but I'm going to use the same trick. I'm going to export, if I can get the tape off. I cut my nails the other day before I filmed all these videos. Bad idea. Oh, I think I've got glue conked up under that fingernail too. So the red bit of paper, if you're wanting to follow along, is 14 centimetres by 19 centimetres. I could ink the edges of these, I could rough them up a bit, but I'm just going to do it plain today. I thought we'll end the day on a semi-traditional scrapbook page. So what I like to do is build up my layers as I go. I don't like to stick them from the base. So I'm going to add a bit of tape here, and then I can easily position this where I want it. I want a little bit of that red poking out, and then just grab it. So I'm just building up from the base, just tacking the pieces in with sort of semi-small bits of tape. That's a bit bigger bit of tape than I should have put down. And then I can easily go and move them. See, I can sort of slide this around. It's not going to grab. So I sort of want that there. The reason I'm putting the bit of paper on, the bit of tape on the back here is if I put it on the piece I'm attaching, I don't exactly know where the tape is going to catch, if that makes sense. So I just want a small border showing here. So now I can move this round and play with my placement without having to stick it down, which is good. So I just want some tape at the bottom to grab this white bit of paper. I love this paper. I've done a lot of cards. This is the paper pad that I've used all week. As I said, I'm trying to deep dive my stash. Hillbilly Scrapping has some awesome Christmas papers this year. I'm trying to be oh so good and not buy any of them because I'm trying to use up what I've got. Have we all got that feeling? We've all got too much stash, but we always want more. Now I'm going to stick this down. So when I stick this down, because I've only tacked these pieces together, I put larger strips of tape covering all the pieces. So I'll put 4 on here. Scrapbooking go through bucket loads of this double-sided tape, or at least I do. I buy it in bulk from Hillbilly Scrapping and get about 12 rolls for an awesome price. I can't remember what I paid last time I went shopping. But it is a fantastic price, one of the best prices I've seen for double-sided tape, hands down, and it's a really good tape. We use it all the time in our classes. So I'm just wanting to put that there. Looks like I've got a mark there already, but that's okay. I get marks on everything. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to cover that with a photo so it doesn't really matter. Obviously got ink or something on it. This is a very unusual layout for me. Usually I have paint slapped everywhere and I have ink dribbles, but I thought let's return to basics and just have a I was actually going to pop some of these up on foam tape, wasn't I? I'm actually going to put this one up on foam tape, but I've actually run out of foam tape. So what I often use is negative pieces of the chipboard. It's nice and lightweight. So I'm just going to cut off a piece that will, so this is just the waste from cutting shapes. So I'm just going to sort of get a couple of pieces. When we come to craft shows, I usually have big bags of this for $5. It's great in mixed media. It's great to sort of add layers. You sometimes get some really funky shapes. So I'm just going to add some glue to this. Sometimes get some really funky shapes from around shapes. Actually, that's the first bit stuck down with the double-sided tape. So we usually sell big bags at $5. If you would like some posted out, we don't actually charge for it because of the postage. It's a separate order. You just got to message me and ask, can I have some chipboard extra texture, we call it. Basically, it's very similar to this. Often you'll get strips like this that cut down. Basically, what I do is you can either choose a 3 kilo bag with Australia Post, and I'm not sure off the top of my head what the prices are, or you can choose a 5 kilo bag from Australia Post, and however much I can shove in your bag, that's how much you get, and usually I can shove a lot in the 5 kilo bag and a fair bit in the 3 kilo bag. And that you're just paying for the postage, and I'm basically just sending it out to you. At the shows, we just pay charge $5 just to cover my time to bag it up, basically. So it makes saves on your on your foam tape. It's nice and light. And I should have done it to this side. See how it just adds a bit of lift? It's hard to see in the photo. Doesn't make your page too bulky either because it's going to match the height of the chipboard we've got. Wonder if I can. No, I'm going to leave that one flat because if I go and try to take that up, it's going to end in tears. So because I've popped this one up, these two I'm going to stick flat, but I'm going to pop these embellishments up on a bit of foam tape. So for large areas, I use that chipboard. For smaller areas, I use foam tape. I'm just very low on foam tape. I have to go, isn't that good? So this piece, I need a little bit of foam tape to put on the bottom of the car because, or put below the so this is just kids craft foam. I found a piece with double-sided strip tapes on either side. I just need to put it on the car or put it on that edge. I think I just need to put it on this edge here so that my chipboard didn't go real close to the edge. So that's fixed that up. There's a bit of height behind the car tyres. Now, how did I have this before? I think I had it like this. And then we have our soldier here. So I'm going to stick the soldier up on foam tape so he stands up a bit. This is our last craft alive for the year. I'm hoping in February, when our season starts again for craft shows, we'll be up and running again with a COVID craft show. COVID safe craft show. COVID safe seems to be the word, the catchphrase lately. But I've also enjoyed doing this format as well. Oh, I haven't stuck everything down yet. I forget what things I stick down. I go to pick up my layout at the end. It's like, ooh, whoops, that fell off. That obviously wasn't stuck down. So just sticking this one down flat. Just wanting to cover up the stem of the tree with this tree. I don't like things floating on my page, so just going to add some craft glue to this one. I don't like things floating on my page, so I sort of like to sort of ground them. So it's sitting behind, so it's sort of giving a bit of depth, and then this soldier will sit. Actually, I like him just sitting there. So what else are we doing? Now, we have this to go up on the corner, and the S is sort of going to sit on there. So we're going to, stop saying that so word. It's interesting to film myself and then play it back. I pick up all my naughty habits. I would possibly put this up on foam tape, but because my chipboard's going to sit on it, it's going to make it look awkward. So this Santa photo chipboard word is brand spanking new just for this layout. I haven't even got it loaded on the website yet. I will see if I get it loaded by the time this class goes up. I've just been super duper busy. I have a load of work I've got to do on my website, and I just haven't got around to it yet. Because I make and manufacture all the stuff that I sell, it's very time consuming. I probably need about 3 of me. That would be nice. I've got one in training, a teenager. If you got teenagers or had teenagers, you know what that's like. Now, really annoyed that I put a mark on there. That's right. I'll put a little bit of white paint on that and see if I can get it off. I don't even know what it is. I think it's ink. So that is our quick traditional style scrapbook layout with a little bit of mixed media, so the embossing. Basically, when you hear the word mixed media, it's using 2 or more different things on a page. That's the definition of mixed media. So probably couldn't call this mixed media because I've only used heat embossing powder, but I'm quite impressed with that. And nice one to end the show with. So I know it's very early, but I'm going to do it anyway. I wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and hopefully you can see all your family and everything in Australia has settled down by then. I think if we can't go and travel at Christmas and see our families, I think everyone will be a lot more annoyed than they are at the moment. I will be. Thank you very much for watching all my classes throughout the 6 days. Our website specials will finish on Monday. Sometime on Monday, possibly Monday night when I get all start attacking all the orders I've got to do. I will be, actually this is going up after my live, so I don't need to mention that. Just a big thank you to everyone that's made purchases for the Craft Alive event. Stalk your post in the next couple of weeks. You'll be getting Chrissy presents. Thank you very much for all your support over the year, and I look forward to meeting each and every one of you in person at the in-person Craft Alive shows around country Victoria. Bye for now.